Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. Due to YouTube's changing quote-unquote community standards, I created a channel called Grumpy Old Fart over on Rumble, a free speech alternative to YouTube. You can see all of my stuff over there, including my political and social commentary, as well as my current events videos. The links to my YouTube and Rumble channels, as well as links to let you order my books, are in the description of this video. If you enjoy my content, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. I welcome your comments, even if you disagree with me. Now, on with the video. Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. I'm doing an Advanced Dungeons & Dragons advice video on religions. I try to avoid talking religion with people. I talk about faith, and I am a Christian, but I try to avoid talking about other people's religions, per se. However, this is a bit of a different subject because this is the religions in a role-playing game for characters. And as a dungeon master, you have to be intimately aware of the situation. You have to pay attention to the religion that the players choose, because there's a variety of them. And you have to know what in those particular religions entail. So, for most Advanced Dungeons & Dragons characters, religion is a secondary consideration. What I mean by that is that for most characters, choosing to be religious is an option. Some are born into a theocracy or some form of cult which forces them to be religious in some way, usually race or region oriented. Some simply choose to be religious, and that's fine. For some characters, however, religion is a necessity. Clerics and paladins live for their religions. Druids worship nature and some nature gods. Clerics are the holy men who further the spread of their chosen deity. They also act as healers and do much of the research on most quests. Paladins are the defenders of the faith. They further their religion as well, but with a more hands-on approach. They're the ones who defend the religion. Druids are less prone to spreading their religion, rather preferring to concentrate on preserving nature. They act as healers, as do clerics, but they lack the scholarly pursuits of library work. In my games, I prefer to use a more open approach to religion. Clerics and paladins, by definition, are required to choose a specific deity to worship. This deity is their lifelong benefactor and their reason for being. They are completely dedicated to that one specific deity. Druids have religious concerns and may choose to worship a specific god. Ki, for example, nature god, nature goddess. As long as the alignment and sphere of influence correspond, that's fine. Virtually every other character class has an open slate regarding religion. They have the option to follow a religion or a specific religion as they choose. A religion or a specific deity as they choose. Some are forced into a religious mold by their race or their heritage or their community, but they are free to choose not to conform. This may necessitate, running for your life, or some form of punitive actions by their fellows, but it is possible for them to buck the system, as it were. Their society may force them to be religious, like, for example, Drow elves, they all worship Lolth. The ones who don't probably don't stick around because, the other people won't tolerate them. That kind of thing. Most beings will worship a pantheon rather than a specific deity, if they choose to be religious at all. For example, a farmer may worship the Greek pantheon and sacrifice to Aphrodite when he's looking for a wife. Then he may sacrifice to Demeter for a thriving crop. And when he's pressed into service as a conscript, he may sacrifice to Ares for success and luck in battle. He has options. In my world, temples are rarely to a specific deity, but rather are dedicated to a pantheon with different altars for each specific deity within that pantheon. If a temple is dedicated to a specific deity, it's usually a god that has no pantheon of his own, or is at odds with his or her pantheon for whatever reason. Shrines to pantheons or specific deities litter the well-traveled roads, and any cleric or paladin of that pantheon or deity must stop and pray at each of them. A good-hearted traveler can leave coins if they desire for the next traveler who may be in need. Clerics and paladins, and in a lot of religions, that's considered a sacrifice. You know, you're doing a good deed for your god, basically. Clerics and paladins are required to donate to their religion. 10% is the standard minimum donation. When times are tough, this is acceptable. But when a cleric or paladin receives a windfall, they are expected to share the wealth with their temple. If the money has to go to other necessary expenditures, then that's acceptable. You know, the local orphans are hungry or need a new roof, or the party has a member that needs healing or resurrecting. The mission requires specific expensive supplies, etc. But lavish or hedonistic, you know, all that stuff is okay, but lavish or hedonistic, frivolous expenditures are frowned upon. A cleric who finds himself with a wagon load of gold and gems and no worthwhile expenditures had better tithe more than 10%. Deities who feel slighted tend to be more restrictive with their spells. The cleric with that wagon load of treasure who donates only 10% might find his spells failing a lot more frequently. Also, note the Paladin strictures numbers 1, 2, and 3 on the player's handbook in the player's handbook on pages 23 and 24. Those govern how paladins do treasure. Now, there's another thing I wanted to talk about. I forgot to put it in this list here, but there's another thing I want to talk about. Sacrifice. Many players want to sacrifice to their deity, and many deities have prescribed things to sacrifice. They have certain animals or certain items or whatever, and that's cool. Many players want to sacrifice something for a specific favor from their god, and that's cool. The problem is in the choice of sacrifices. A player character who has 3 magic items, one of which he can't use and never touches, and he decides to sacrifice that one to his god, I'm sorry, that's not a sacrifice. That's oh, I'm getting rid of this, you can have it, kind of thing. It's a hand-me-down, it's not a sacrifice. Player characters who, for example, if his best weapon is a +3 battle axe, and he really needs something, yeah, that would be a worthy sacrifice. You see what I'm saying? If you sacrifice something you don't use, it's not a sacrifice. If you sacrifice something you can't use, it's a hand-me-down. It's almost an insult. You see what I'm saying? Now, if you were to donate said item to a temple, and they can find, later on they'll find somebody who can use it, that's cool, that's reasonable. But if you're going to sacrifice something for a specific effect from your god, it had better be a sacrifice. It can't be a hand-me-down, and what I'm saying, it's got to be a worthwhile sacrifice. That's what I'm saying. Now, I urge you to research mythology and the religions in your world. Make them as rich and detailed as possible. That will enhance both your world and your players' experiences in the world. And after all, isn't that the role of the Dungeon Master, making sure the players are having fun? Hope this finds everybody well. And again, you don't have to take my advice. You don't have to play it the way I do. This is just advice from an old hack wargamer. Take it or leave it. Hope I help you out a little bit. You folks have a good day. God bless one and all. Devo Poland, a scientific representative of a pacifist race called the Gandhiri, is sent away as an exchange officer. His objective? To learn the one skill his species never developed, to fight. And he's sent to learn that skill from the one species who does it better than any other in the galaxy, humans. If you like science fiction with an upbeat military tone, check out my novel, Vanguard 1.